let's turn to this. Now, Howard Lutnick is Trump's Commerce Secretary. He's on the All In podcast. Is that the same one where
It's with Chamath Palihapitiya, sorry.
Who is that guy?
He's a
VC scammer.
VC crypto guy. Like, we'll cite this often, is they were caught on this podcast almost admitting that they were doing crypto pump and dumps, just like openly. So these are really rich guys that talk about finance on their podcast. And I guess Lutnick went on with them. This is how you know that this administration is really in touch with everyday people with comments like
everyday venture capitalists.
I don't think Lutnick here is attempting to justify what his what this administration is doing with Social Security directly. I assume he's aware that they're trying to destroy the Social Security Administration from within, both by forcing hundreds of thousands of people to come to offices, whereas they used to be able to deal with those things over the phone, shutting down the offices, thereby making all of the wait times much more extreme, and people start to get dissatisfied with Social Security, and the acting Social Security Administration head threatening to shut down the system because he didn't like a court ruling about giving Doge all the data from Social Security Administration. I don't think Lutnick is responding to that, but I think he is showing just how deluded the Republican brain is writ large about Social Security, and B, the billionaires and 100 millionaires who are in their administration. And I would also add just how out of touch these two crypto guys are, who seem to like go to some, I don't know, factory where they just impose the exact same tie on them. It's weird. All right, go ahead.
Generation. So there's a lot of domestic terrorism. Is that the response to try to slow down the expense side of the house? Is it basically to put fear into people that are trying to find this waste and fraud? Is that,
pause it for a second. I should add that what they're trying to do is justify that they're pretending they're looking for waste and fraud. They have found 0 cases of fraud. B, they fired all the inspector generals whose job it is to police their own agencies, who know how to spot waste and fraud because they've been working in these agencies. What Doge is doing is just doing cuts so that they can undermine all these agencies in the name of waste and fraud. And they're having to justify things like, we fired the guys in charge of the nuclear arsenal, or we fired the guys who were working on the bird flu, or we fired the guys who were working at
these airports as planes crash out of the sky.
We'll rehire them. Don't worry, that's the way we do it. And this is what they're trying to justify here with this.
The burning of the dealerships.
I describe it to people this way. Let's say Social Security didn't send out their checks this month. My mother-in-law, who's 94, she wouldn't call and complain. She just wouldn't. She'd think something got messed up, and she'll get it next month.
Yeah.
A fraudster always makes the loudest noise, screaming, yelling, and complaining. And if all the guys who did PayPal, like Elon knows this by heart, right? Anybody who's been in the payment system and the process system knows the easiest way to find the fraudster is to stop payments and listen.
Yeah.
Because whoever screams is the one stealing.
Yeah.
Because my mother-in-law's not calling. I mean, come on, your mother, 80-year-olds, 90-year-olds, they trust the government. They trust, okay, maybe I got screwed up, big deal. They're not going to call and scream at someone. But
Pause it for a second.
Stealing,
I just want you to contemplate, first of all, like how insane all of what he's saying is. I mean, it may be the case in when he's ripping off people or people are ripping off him or whatever, that this holds true. But he's saying that these people are so feeble, they're not going to be the ones to call in. or he's saying that their son-in-law is a billionaire and is going to pay for them and cover them. Yeah. Mom, when she's living in the back of one of my chalets, she doesn't call if she doesn't get the check. Part of it is, maybe after a month or two, the 24/7 multiple home health aides that we have working, they would call. Maybe. So blinkered. The number, I don't have the number right in front of me, but the number of people who, if they don't get their Social Security check, would not be able to eat or pay their heat, depending on the time of year, or pay their electrical bill, at the end of those 30 days, would be easily in the millions. Easily. The idea that there are recipients who get Social Security illegally or enough that even constitutes any type of fraud in the way that you would isolate them is just bizarre.
There was a report 5 years ago that 40% of older Americans rely on Social Security solely for their retirement income. So that's 40%
I'll get it next month.
of Social Security recipients that he is basically saying, well, I mean, them not being able to pay their bills or keep their lights on, that's kind of,
And
not at the front of my mind. If they're calling because they're desperate and they can't do that, they must be fraudsters. And there also is no way for him to, he doesn't even understand, or is seemingly, he probably does. He's being purposefully obtuse about what the nature of the payment is. This isn't like a contractor who, you're working with, Lutnick, who you say you're going to pay and you have a contract to pay them out and it's 2 days late. And he's basically saying that person who would be calling and ringing my phone off the hook, they're the fraudster. This is their own money. This is their own money they've been paying in for their entire life.
It's fascinating that they're sort of now saying that the people on Social Security, they have so much money, they don't even think about it for 30 days until they're getting paid.
They're chill.
You think that if these people, same people he's talking about, if they were to open their Bank of America account or Chase account and they would see that the money that they were supposed to have isn't there, that they would be like, all right, I'll just wait and see. Chase will figure it out.
It's like they're in their 80s and their 90s. Well, a lot also are in their late 60s and 70s.
Oh, and also I shouldn't be saying calling because they don't want that to be, they want to eliminate that altogether as well.
Get in the car, drive on down.
Come on, Grandma. Only a fraudster would do that, apparently.
It is so blinkered. They really have no idea what they're doing in terms of Social Security. They really don't.
Big deal. They're not going to call and scream at someone. Mm-hmm. But someone who's stealing always does. Mm-hmm. So what happens is...
Stealing?
We need to get to. So the people who are getting that free money, stealing the money, inappropriately getting the money, have an inside person who's routing the money, they are going to yell and scream. But real America is going to be rewarded because here's the key.
Benefit of the doubt.
Not one penny should stop going to, we're the richest country on earth.
Yeah.
Here's the way I say it. I said we have a $6.5 trillion
now watch what he's
budget.
going to do here, because this is interesting. They're going to set it up. He's already set the table, right? Listen, we were going after fraudsters. There is not that kind of fraud in Social Security. There just isn't. They're going to pretend it is. There isn't. When there's fraud in Medicare or Medicaid, it's always the providers, not the recipients. There's no doubt in my mind that there are people who are getting checks from Social Security who don't deserve them. They're either, younger and they're taking it off of their, they're taking it from their parents, or they've got some type of scam where they've figured it out. But these numbers are infinitesimally small. No, certainly no larger than any other business enterprise you see, where people are stealing from the money from the government by not paying their taxes, by not declaring their money. It's these things just dwarf it. Cutting costs, stealing from their employees by miscategorizing. All of society has some percentage of fraud and theft in this everywhere. Somebody's taking more, extra dessert from the commissary here at the majority report, whatever it is. But these are not significant savings. But if they set it up as if this is what we're going for, but we would never harm Social Security. Well, we might actually make it harder for people to have new claims, and we might make it more inaccessible to people, and we might increase waiting lines times 3 or 4, or we might make the nearest Social Security office 2 hours away or 3 hours away for his 97-year-old mom, who incidentally I doubt will be driving herself. We might do that, but we would never cut Social Security. And so he's setting up the parameters on how they're going to do it. They want to maintain the political face that we're protecting Social Security while they are undermining it. And here's the 2 on the 1-2 punch.
We have 4.5 trillion of revenues.
Yeah.
Okay, we lose $2 trillion a year.
Yep.
We have a $29 trillion GDP, right? Which people don't understand, and which I'll explain a little bit. And we have 36 trillion in debt.
Yeah.
What number didn't I say to a business person? What's our balance sheet worth?
Right.
I say $500 trillion.
Right.
The president says a quadrillion. But at 500 trillion or a quadrillion, 36 trillion, we're rich. We don't have to take 1 penny from someone who deserves Social Security. Not 1 penny from someone who deserves Medicaid and Medicare. What we have to do is stop sending money to someone who's not hurt, who's on disability for 50 years. It's ridiculous, and they have another job.
And do we have to monetize our assets?
We need to be smart.
Okay.
That's all we need to be.
Okay.
And
So
I'm going to
we're going to be able to save Social Security, which there is one simple fact about Social Security, that we are touching 5 to 6% less of American income than we were back in 1983 when the current system was set up. And that is because of wealth inequality. There is no amount of fraud that's going to change that fundamental figure. You've got to lift the cap, fund the trust fund, and then you're done. But they will not get there. And they phrase it like, we will not take this money from Social Security. Well, it's statutorily, they're not allowed to.
Does he even know what Social Security does? Because he just said for people that are not hurt. He's
He's talking about Social Security disability, which is part of the system, the SSDI. But the fact of the matter
what
is,
about the seniors?
it is so hard to get Social Security disability.
Yeah.
Show me one person who has walked into there and gotten it like that. And the idea that there's all of these people who've been on it for 50 years, milking the whole system of, whatever. He's like,
But he's conflating
$1,500 a month. He's doing both.
Okay. All right. He's either way. I mean, it's just, it's astounding. This is the guy that is just basically in Lutnick is skyrocketing to the top of my power rankings for worst cabinet pick. Like this is Elon Musk's, partner in crime in many ways that doesn't get as much attention in terms of like how much money he's making off this administration. Cantor Fitzgerald, which he was the CEO of until like yesterday, but then appointed his 2 20-something-year-old sons to head, is heavily invested in cryptocurrency. They have a $2 billion crypto financing business, Cantor Fitzgerald. They were a part of the over $100 million that was spent by the cryptocurrency industry in the federal elections in 2024. And he basically gave Trump tens of millions of dollars and now bought his way in. And Cantor Fitzgerald isn't just heavily invested in crypto, they're also heavily invested in the commercial space business. So he is working side by side with Elon Musk to gut the federal government for profit.
All these guys, speaking of, when he says, when the money gets turned off, the fraudsters really start crying. Look at the way that they were reacting to Silicon Valley Bank when they were trying to lobby for it to be bailed out. I think maybe they're onto something with that.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.